We'll start now our first panel discussion. It's about entrepreneurship and supporting local content in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Our moderator for this panel discussion is Dr. Yenny Vertaboya, and he's the Executive Technology Commercializations at KFUPM. And I'll leave the floor for Dr. Yenny to introduce his speakers.
Thank you for the introduction. Please, I'd like to invite here in the podium Mr. Fuad Musa from SABIC, please. And Mr. Ahmad Al-Abdabu from Yokogawa. And Mr. Abdullah Al-Thali from Saudi Aramco. Pleasure. So welcome to this panel on entrepreneurship in supporting local content in Saudi Arabia. My time with this forum series started in 2013 in the first entrepreneurship forum. I was one of the guest speakers back then. And over the course of 6 years, it's been really wonderful to see the progress of the Institute and in some way to participate in each and every forum. But in addition to the forums, there's of course a lot of hard work which is done by the founding team and the current team, and a lot of activities, business plan competitions, proof of concept competitions, prototyping competitions, many other kind of competitions, and mentoring. Some of the panelists are mentors of EI. So there's a lot going on, and I've been very happy to work with the team for the past year on a daily basis. I'm an Aramco employee which has been assigned to work with KFUPM in technology transfer, innovation, and entrepreneurship areas. So today we have 3 panelists, and I will describe how we're going to have this panel. I will introduce each panelist. Then comes the introduction to the panel topic by each panelist, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, something like this per panelist. And then I will make some questions for the panelists, and then I want to open the floor for the audience to make questions. And hopefully, inshallah, a little summary and close the session. So I'll introduce the first panelist, Mr. Fuad Mohammed Musa. Mr. Fuad Musa is the Vice President of SABIC's Local Content and Business Development Unit, an arm of the company created to develop local content in the Kingdom according to Saudi Vision 2030. He holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from KFUPM, a master's degree in chemical engineering from King Saud University, and an MBA from the Thunderbird School of Management in Arizona in the US. He has over 20 years of experience in multiple fields related to petrochemical industry. He has been assigned to several roles within SABIC, including operations, research, technology, and business. He has contributed in more than 30 filed patent applications. He serves as board member at many companies, centers, and institutes. Before appointed to his current role with the Local Content and Business Development Unit, he was General Manager of SABIC Global Chemical Technologies. So please, can you give us a brief introduction on the topic?
Thank you very much, Jenny, and it's my pleasure, as I said, early morning to be here with all of you. When we are talking about the subject and SABIC view about the importance of this subject, as you mentioned that the local content unit within SABIC have been established January 2017, months after launching the Vision 2030. And SABIC believe that as a third global chemical company in the world with a diverse production of steel, polymer, chemical, specialty polymer, with more than 20 research and product application center in the world, with customer like Apple, Samsung, BMW, Range Rover. We have to play a role in developing our country. We are doing a great job now globally, and we need to bring everything here. And when we identify what is the important focus area for SABIC, it was very obvious the small and medium enterprises. And the reason behind this, that the economy of the country need to be diversified. We need to make sure that we have a strong economy, and most of the countries have an economy which 50 to 60% from GDP point of view depend on small and medium. And in order to have a small and medium in a very diverse manner, you need to start by supporting the entrepreneurship, which is the platform in order to have as much as you can small and medium. And we have our program, which we already launched beginning of 2018, Nusanid. And Nusanid is the localization engine for SABIC. After that, we had a very successful, I call it successful, partnership with KFUPM. And we have our industrial program, and we would like really to bring as many projects as possible in the industrial landscape in order to assure that the small and medium, they can have a strong positioning in affecting the future GDP growth in Saudi Arabia. So that's it.
Okay, very good, very good. Thank you. And let's move on to Mr. Ahmad Al Abdrabbuh. Mr. Al Abdrabbuh is Senior Executive Vice President and Board Director at Yokogawa Saudi Arabia Company. Since joining Yokogawa in 2010, he has led strategic development, including acceleration and maximizing local content, R&D, engineering, and projects business in Saudi Arabia. Before his time with Yokogawa, he has held various leadership, project management, technical, and engineering positions in Saudi Aramco Shell Refinery Company and Saudi Aramco since 1982. He holds a bachelor's degree in computer engineering from the University of Arizona. Mr. Al Abdrabbuh is a sought-after leader in industry-university collaboration, and he serves at external advisory boards of 3 academic institutions at KFUPM, Jubail Industrial College, and Prince Muhammad University. He is a founding mentor at the KFUPM Entrepreneurship Institute since 2015. Please, Mr. Ahmad.
Thank you, Dr. Yani. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to thank KFUPM Entrepreneurship Institute to give myself and Yokogawa the opportunity to play its role in supporting the society and the youth, and as well as the economy. Now, I work for Yokogawa, a Japanese company that was founded in 1915 as a research lab for electric meters by an entrepreneur, Mr. Yokogawa. So the entrepreneurship is in the genes and the genome of the company since inception, 100+ years ago. And that is an instilled value in the organization where entrepreneurship is not limited to small and medium enterprise startups, but it's a mindset, it's a principle, and in my opinion as well, it's a second nature to human beings. It's in our primal instinct. When human beings started to domesticate themselves, they, instead of going into the jungle, picking the fruits and picking the different edibles or hunting for something to eat, they started to bring everything and domesticate the plants. So they became a farming society. That by itself is an entrepreneurial thought to enhance the value of their life. Domesticated animals so things would happen next to them and maximize the benefit of their time and effort. So taking that back to the organization and the ecosystem that we live in, it's part of Yokogawa's value to support the community and the society they work in. Now, support does not happen one way. Of course, as a private sector, it's not a huge conglomerate company. It's considered a medium company, but it's global with values that helped to grow and sustain the value wherever it operates. And that is done by innovating, continuously innovating, supporting entrepreneurship within and externally. Here in Saudi Arabia, since establishment about 12 years ago, it has established the actions and the organization to support where it counts to add to its own value chain, supporting the entrepreneurs to take the high road and sustain the value. I really appreciate the information and the knowledge conveyed by Dr. Carlson there. It really sheds the light on what we do and what we should do. Taking the high road is the sustained model for any society or organization where continuous innovation, continuous development, finding where are the needs in the value chain of our business or new businesses, and sharing, because the focus business of one company cannot encompass and cover all of its value chain. So we need to develop entrepreneurs locally in our backyard garden instead of trying to go in the jungle and pick for it or go and hunt for the food. Let's have that ecosystem around us. It will be higher value, more economic, and it will definitely lead to even more successes, because locally we are looking at the customers here, generalizing and adapting it to the globally. And with all the gratitude and pleasure and definitely pride that I personally have, we have collaborated with academic institutions and with individuals to generate intellectual property. Patents have been generated, and now only recently we have commercialized the first patent jointly with KFUPM. So that is the philosophy, that is what we do. We do it sincerely as part of our value, and yes, it is a mutual value. We are doing research and development here. We support entrepreneurship academically, advising, mentoring, guiding, and sharing what are the gaps or what is the value chain that we have with entrepreneurs, so opportunities can be evident for those new future entrepreneurs and future generators of value in the economy and hopefully globally. That's what I have as an introduction or a general perspective on what we do here in the Dhahran Techno Valley and in Saudi Arabia. And hopefully there will be a lot more and better than us.
Thank you so much, Ahmad. Very nice introduction. Let us move to our third guest today, Mr. Abdallah Al-Thali. Mr. Abdallah Al-Thali is the manager of Saudi Aramco's Industrial Development and Strategic Supply Department. Mr. Abdallah oversees the ICTIFA program and localization initiatives, manages long-term strategic procurement agreements, and strengthening of relationships and partnerships within suppliers. Mr. Abdallah has previously worked as assistant to the Saudi Aramco Senior Vice President of the Technical Services business line, which oversees 4 major business areas: project management, procurement and supply chain management, engineering services, and information technology. With over 25 years of experience, his other career highlights include positions as Projects Manager for Petro Arabic and Sadara Joint Ventures, Director of Joint Ventures Coordination, Chief Operating Officer for the Saudi Aramco Development Company, and Chief Executive Officer of Saudi Aramco Energy Ventures. Mr. Thali has attended the Senior Executive Education Program at the London Business School. He holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and master's degree in business administration, both from KFUPM. Mr. Abdallah, please.
Unigani, and thank you for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here today. I know this event title is more into entrepreneurship, but also the one attractive part of the title is the local content, which is everything I do day in and day out with my team, and Aramco is focused on. But the great news is we're in, or the great thing is we're in the center of entrepreneurship, innovation, generation of great ideas, Dhahran Techno Valley, and also KFUPM. We also enjoy this era of full attention from the government and from the companies like Saudi Aramco to the small medium enterprises, and the being perceived as the center of economy growth, as my colleagues mentioned earlier. The supplier community we deal with bring a lot of innovative ideas to our supply chain. The business, the most successful business people that we deal with in the private sector are more of entrepreneurs, and they're not just in innovating a new technology, but also innovating a new way of doing business. So it's a wide subject that served us for many years in the past, that has a great potential to serve us in the short, mid, and long term, and make our economy grow bigger and bigger, and help the transformation of our economy that's being witnessed today, with the mindset we have and with the capabilities our institutions like KFUPM and Dhahran Techno Valley are producing. We also do not recently, but 8 years ago, Aramco launched the Entrepreneurship Center Wa'id, which has been very helpful in incubating, financing, and supporting entrepreneurs in startup companies and capital venture. Aramco has sponsored many people in this front for the past 8 years, and more recently we have the small medium enterprise function, which also falls in my team, and falls in my team because we also manage the supply chain of Saudi Aramco, and the supply chain is a great place to find opportunities for entrepreneurs and small and medium enterprise. Like I said, the subject is wide. We have a lot of information to share with you, but I'm sure Dr. Yani will also focus our attention to certain topics, so you can benefit from our attendance today. And also, we'll be happy to address any questions that on any topics you have.
Thank you so much, Abdallah. Okay, let us move to a few questions that I want to ask each one of you. Maybe we start from Fuad. My question is, how's your company or your organization engaged with other organizations in the change process of fulfilling the Vision 2030 when it comes to the forum theme of entrepreneurship in supporting local content in Saudi Arabia? So how are you engaged with other organizations outside, for example, SABIC?
I think for us, we understood very well how important the integration of the work between different entities in order to achieve the goal of localization. And the reason behind this, that this country considers SABIC that one of the great local content example which have been achieved by a right integration between different entities. If we go back 40 years, we just the starting point of the Royal Commission in Jubail and Yumba. It was a decision of some great leaders. Some of them passed away, some of them still exist. And they decide that we would like to have one of the biggest industrial city in the world and one of the biggest 5 chemical company in the world. This was 40 years, and now we have Jubail considered to be one of the biggest industrial city, and SABIC last year achieved the 3rd rank in the global chemical company. So there were a target, and this target has been achieved. And it is a simple reason, which I continuously repeat, that they try to have the right integrated ecosystem to help this local content development. What they did, they developed the Saudi Investment Development Fund, which currently considered to be one of the great examples in the Middle East. They developed the Royal Commission, and they gave this Royal Commission all authorities in order to control this city and to make sure that this city is work as an example in order to help this development of the petrochemical and SABIC specifically. And the third thing, they developed the Royal Commission College, and everybody knows the quality and how this college was able to graduate a lot of local students whom currently considered to be one of the best operators in petrochemical business within SABIC and other cities. So this ecosystem and the right integration, it was very helpful in order to make sure that SABIC and this vision successful. So what we did simply now, we said we need to repeat this because we believe that this is a success, which was the reason why SABIC in this place now. So our localization engine, Nusanid, it cannot be considered as an engine for SABIC at all. It is a national engine. And this national engine has an executive committee. And in the committee of Nusanid program, we have the governor of SAGIA, our authority for investment. We have the governor of the SME authority, Mr. Salih al-Rashid. We have the deputy minister of the oil ministry, Dr. Abd al-Sa'doun. We have the deputy minister of the labor ministry, Dr. Abdullah Abu Thnain. We had Mr. Fahd al-Sikait, and now Dr. Ghassan al-Shibil, who is the head of the local content and government procurement, and we have our CEO. Those 6, they consider to be some, if not 80-90% of those people who's driving the vision, especially from industrialization point of view. So what this can help anyone who would like to develop his investment under Nusanid, that this executive committee, they are meeting every 3 to 4 months, and they are reviewing all investment under Nusanid, and they assure that any hiccups, those investment required a support from any of their entity, it can be successful. Not this only, but on top of this, we already have in place an agreement with other critical entity like SIDF, Modern, Royal Commission, and we have a special alignment between us and them that any investment come under Nusanid, which is now the national program in order to develop the investment. If it will go to SIDF or Modern, it will have a special accelerated process in order to assure that finally this country will be able to develop as much investment, especially in the small and medium, and will be able to achieve those KPIs. Very ambitious KPI. We need to go from 40 to 65, a contribution of our private sector. We need to go from current 20% GDP impact by SME to 35. All countries achieve 50 and 60, so 35 is still not something which we required, but all this target cannot be achieved except if we will have the right platform, which we believe now our localization engine Nusanid is giving to the investment development in the country.
Excellent, very good. How about Mr. Ahmad? What is Yokogawa doing with other organizations or entities in the context of the forum topic?
Well, Yokogawa, as an international foreign investment company here in Saudi Arabia, looks at challenges as opportunities. When it started in Saudi Arabia, the business and innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem is not the same like today, admittedly. The direction of the leadership and the business direction in general, yes, was promoting the local content, promoting more investments in Saudi Arabia. Nevertheless, there were so many challenges ranging from the availability of the elements of the value chain for our niche technology business to the availability of the specialists and the subject matter experts and what have you. And that constituted a challenge that generated an opportunity realized by creating the gaps available in this area that will give us as a company, as a business, an edge over competition, or that will give us a platform to grow regionally and globally, starting from here, from Saudi Arabia, because of all of the rich underlying, let's say, value that has not been exploited. There is a lot of virgin value here. So, investment in the human resources, the development of the minds of the local capabilities was the first step. The research and development center, where the integration of our global research and development capability, supporting the transfer of the knowledge, but not only that, indigenizing the knowledge, creating intellectual property from here with the Saudi minds, the Saudi youth minds. And that could not be done in isolation without organizations like Saudi Aramco, SABIC, and the academic institutions like KFUPM and other fine institutions. Collaborative research started since the onset of our investment here. The collaboration in discussing how to improve the value chain was the start of exploiting the challenges that were available here. 12 years down the road, we see a lot of achievements for our company and for our stakeholders as well. With time, and I guess 5 or so years ago, more international fine companies moved and invested in the Dhahran Techno Valley, making an ecosystem for the knowledge in Saudi Arabia. Collaboration with these different companies focusing on other than our focus in technology and seeing where there should be or could be a common value was another engagement that also led to finding gaps, finding needs with the stakeholders, and generating value. Working with the academic institutions, 5 years ago or so, the KFUPM Entrepreneurship Institute was established, and immediately we realized that this is going to be an engine to realize not only the dreams of the Saudi youth to make the opportunities a reality and businesses and a global sustained value, but we find that with its proximity, with the collaboration, we can share, guide, help, and support, and in return, we can enhance our value chain. And we are looking forward to have a value chain here in Saudi that probably surpass our value chain in other operating communities and countries in the world, hopefully. We are aligning our business vision with the Saudi Vision 2030, which we find it very exciting, as all of the dimensions do pour into everybody's interest, and only those who align and do what would lead to the achievement of these objectives, be it the thriving society or the knowledge-based economy, those that would sustain their presence and thrive like any society or any ecosystem that is collaborative, innovative, entrepreneurial by the genes.
Okay, thank you so much. So far, I gather nice notes for my summary. Let's move to Mr. Abdallah. How about Saudi Aramco and engagement with other organizations and companies?
Very good. You know, I don't know how much of the audience today know about the Activa program, the In-Kingdom Total Value Add program. It was launched in 2015 to increase the local content in our spend from a level of 34% to 70% by 2021. The program has been running for at least 3 years and has achieved significant results. It allowed us to collaborate with our supplier community, providers of materials and services. It allowed us to cooperate with the government entities. For example, we have now the support of the local content authority, recently restructured to government procurement and local content authority. My colleague, Mr. Fuad Musa, highlighted earlier. Both Fuad and I sit on that committee. We also cooperate with SAGIA, Saudi Arabian General Investment Authority, who has been very active in promoting investments at the kingdom in general, but also our own investments. So the collaboration now is very intense. We share with them our investment opportunities. We even share with them the list of our potential investors, and they help our investors or potential investors to get the licenses, to get the support from the government. We also work very closely with the Saudi Industrial Development Fund, chaired by Dr. Ibrahim Al-Ma'jil, who is ex-Aramco. He works with us very closely. He and his team has signed an MOU with us recently in an annual Activa event in November to strengthen the collaboration with the Activa program with Saudi Aramco. They also have insight of our potential investors. Last week they signed a financing agreement with one of our major investors under the local content program. And I believe this week or next week they will sign another one. As we speak, we have over 400 investments under the local content program Activa. Each investment emerged from our detailed analysis of the supply chain. The Saudi Aramco annual spend is over $40 billion, and the huge spend allowed our suppliers, especially what we call the tier 1 suppliers, the suppliers who supply us directly, to work with us closely to enhance the opportunities for the small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. We did, together with our suppliers, detailed analysis of their own supply chain, meaning to find suppliers for our suppliers. And their supply chain has opened many opportunities for the small companies. And not only that, but also we worked with both the main supplier and their small suppliers to nurture the opportunities, to help the small suppliers be qualified and be registered with Saudi Aramco and with our suppliers to get the right financing, to get the right attention and licenses from SAGIA. And that helped our program and helped our supplier community to be working closely with us and with the other government stakeholders and enablers to make the environment successful and attractive to the small and medium enterprises.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Abdallah. I will make a second question, and then I will open the floor for the audience to make questions. My second question is, what are the main challenges in supporting local content when it comes to entrepreneurship? and possibly maybe how to overcome these challenges. Do you want to start with the challenges, Mr. Fuad?
I think the major issue we feel that it required a lot of development is the regulation. So this country have regulation and system have been developed to support big entities like Aramco, Sabic, Ma'adin. But when you go to the regulation relating to small and medium, to those newcomers, you will see that a lot of gaps. And I believe the small and medium authority, they are working heavily now to change a lot, to allow a lot of required regulation which can help our country to support the entrepreneurship development in Saudi Arabia. So I think this is one of the important things. The second, one of the issue, if we look to the small and medium in Saudi Arabia, you can see that from number point of view, we are doing great. So if you compare Saudi Arabia to any country in the world, from the registered entity, you will find that we are doing great. But when you come to the GDP impact, you'll see that we are sometimes half and sometimes 1/3 of the comparison in the GDP impact from country to Saudi Arabia, from other country to Saudi Arabia. So when we analyze this, we figure out that a lot of entrepreneurship project going to very simple project investment. And what we need to do, and this is one of the target of our program with KFUBM, is to start shifting the mindset of the those newcomers to start thinking about real industry. And this industry, it will be able to have much bigger impact. We have currently a lot of enablers, lots of programs now. We spoke about what Sabic, we spoke about what Aramco, and there are a lot of entities which would like to help moving people from doing apps and small project to start doing a real industrial project which can help the job creation. We know our country suffering currently from unemployment. We started when the vision launched with 11.7 and our target to go to 7, and we are moving now almost to 13%. We need to have this industry now and assure that women, they are part of this, because the major issue that when you look to the current unemployment of Saudi Arabia, more than 30% women and around 7.6 it's men. So whatever we will do with the men, we will easily achieve the 7 for them, but will not be able to achieve it for the national. So we need to have this industry, and we need to assure that we are developing also women to be part of this. And I'm happy to see a lot of women in year after year in such forum, because they are they have a lot of responsibility in order to play role, not only to look after job, also to create job. And I think playing part of this, it will help a lot. So if the regulation will be enhanced in a great manner, I believe that we will see a lot of advancement in this area.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Fuad. How about Mr. Ahmed, challenges in this area?
Yeah, well, entrepreneurship in general, and definitely the local content creation in Saudi Arabia specifically, has multiple elements or pillars that would support it to thrive. And it has to be a sustained value as a basis of such progression for the growth of entrepreneurship and the support of the local content. Now, as a private sector, if entrepreneurs or startups start, but it's not sustained, it doesn't continue, I haven't done anything. It's gonna collapse. And I will, again, look for an alternate, and I will go out in the jungle to find my alternate food. I want a robust tree that I will every day pick up the fruit. And the pillars for that legislation, as Engineer Fuad indicated, is one, the regulations to cater for the environment, the ecosystem. We need to talk about a soil that is fertile, but the seed must be strong. The knowledge of the entrepreneurs, and yes, things are happening. Entrepreneurship Institute here and other academic institutions are supporting our entrepreneurs to pick the right business case, be prepared, do the right thing. The funding of the entrepreneurs is a challenge. Our financial legislation, again, is not catering and supportive. The collaboration between stakeholders and key stakeholders, it's improving, I admit, but we need to show and list, again, as Dr. Carlson highlighted very correctly, we need to have a national database of the gaps, of the opportunities. Let's help our youth and entrepreneurs to identify where there is an opportunity, and then let's help with the elements that would sustain such a startup or endeavor. It's a big waste to have startups fail and fail and fail. Yes, there is a knowledge gained, but we need to do what it takes to give the best chances from knowledge, from funding, from legislation. I must admit things have improved significantly, especially in the last 2 years in this arena. However, it is still not there. We are not there yet on all three pillars. The empowerment of the entrepreneurs and the youth with the education, the knowledge. Till today, and Dr. Musa, please excuse me for stating this, I don't see an entrepreneurial academy or institution that caters for the women in Saudi Arabia. We have one or more, and many courses sporadic in the area for men. Then we need the venture capital, the angel funding, legislation that will enable it, that will help to support and sustain. We need to have the other legislation to make it easier, but with the right, let's say, boundaries, the right checks and tabs for the startups to start and sustain. I don't care if it takes 2 minutes to create a new commercial registration, but I want to know that these are genuinely adding value to the economy, not just about a number in our statistics. And it's going to happen. I'm quite confident that there is a good determination by the leadership, by the stakeholders. We see the Activa, we see the local content program, Activa from Aramco, local content from SABIC, and other major stakeholders doing what it takes to drive. We need also the youth to change their risk-taking, to change their attitude, to go and dig for the opportunities. So these are the main challenges, and we are on the way, hopefully, to improve the chances, but we're not there yet.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed. And finally, Mr. Abdallah, the challenges from your point of view.
Well, challenges are best described by the private sector, by the supplier community. And to tell you the truth, we learned a lot from them about the challenges. Without talking to them, we would not have known about these many challenges. Their feedback helped us to continuously improve our local content program. Some of the challenges highlighted to us that were very clear, obstructing the progress of our suppliers and providers, were immediately turned by Saudi Aramco into mandates, into our formula of calculating the local content of our suppliers. To give you an example, we put now part of the local content measurement in Saudi Aramco is the SME development. So there is one major part of our formula that calculates how much of the big companies, main suppliers, have spent with SMEs. And this gets counted for them, people who developed SMEs, and we have very good examples of large companies opening their supply chain for SMEs, enabling them in different manners. Their score went very high because of this activity. My colleagues have highlighted the typical challenges that I would also fully agree with, but don't want to repeat. I think the biggest challenge for that we've seen is the lack of access to business opportunities. I think that was number one, and every other challenge would probably be equal, but definitely will come secondary to the first one. So access to opportunities is a major one. So what we did now is we opened the books of our suppliers, of our books, showed the opportunities. We provide 10 years forward demand forecast for commodities. We detail the small elements of the material and services, and we give the same horizon for demand. So that builds the business case for our entrepreneurs and SMEs. And the second challenge is attention given to them when they establish business. For example, we have businesses supported by our entrepreneurship center in Aramco Wa'ad, or by the government institutions that support SMEs. However, when they get the business up and running, they could not get business established with or demand from the major users or suppliers. So we work with them. We worked in the past. We continue to work with them to avail those opportunities. Some of the small factories in the industrial cities talk to us saying, only now after Activa we started to see some orders coming our way because your major suppliers are also a beneficiary from buying from them, from the smaller suppliers, because it counts for their Activa score. So that kind of challenge, access to business opportunities, access to demand, has been now relaxed or softened, and it's improving. I think one of the challenges also we've seen is entrepreneurs or small companies naturally not willing to take risk, and for various reasons, unknowns are many around them. But now I think the risk is much less because of the transparency provided by different stakeholders, support given by the government. I would say risk is much less than 10 years ago, 20 years ago, definitely. And imagine people who took risk at that time succeeded very much. So people who take risk now are going to be in a better position. That's one thing. The other thing is access to, I'm not going to talk about access to financing because my colleagues covered it, plus it improved, but access to skilled labor, especially in high-tech businesses. We know now the major front is the digitalization, transforming the whole business and the whole world. The industrial revolution wave is happening as we speak. You look back 10 years ago and you see the top companies in the world the list of them has changed to another list. Thanks to the entrepreneurs, startup companies, change the landscape of industry by bringing new ideas, new technologies that changed the business, reduced cost, and that helped a lot in relaxing. The technology arm enabled the entrepreneurs to find a way and a landscape or a footprint in the bigger landscape of industry. So these challenges are now easily understood, more supported by the government, and that's helping our entrepreneurs and small companies to grow and find an opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullah. Now I would like to have one or two questions from the audience because the time is running out, so we need to move. Microphone, maybe on the right-hand side. Yeah, please.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Hadi Al-Qahtani, Saudi Aramco. I just would like to have an idea or suggestion. How could there be a possibility to synergize and integrate Nusanid program with Iktifa and with Bina program from Saudi Electrical Company to make what's so-called MBA, Nusanid Bina Iktifa, all together to work hand in hand, open doors for supplier and sub-suppliers, and enable the full value chain to be in place?
I'd like to start. This is a very good question, and it resonates very well with the stakeholders like SABIC, Aramco, the ministry. We are under one ministry now, Ministry of Energy and Industry, and also like I mentioned earlier, Fuad and I sit in the executive committee of the local content, and we share common practices. We went long way in unifying our measurement and formula. We're almost there. The whole country will be using a formula that mimics Iktifa formula with minor tweaks, so that's one thing. The other thing is the ministry is very keen on unifying efforts to make these programs work in sync with each other. Recently, and this is the main reason I took the first chance to answer, is Aramco is launching an e-commerce platform, and the idea of this e-commerce, we call it e-market, is really to aggregate demand from all procurers in the country, buyers in the country, aggregate the demand so that a supplier or a manufacturer of a commodity, small or large, will see the demand from all users kingdom-wide. Not only that, but also Aramco is working to expand this platform to cover the whole region, the Gulf region, the GCC region. So these efforts, first of all, will unify the measurement. So a supplier who provides a local content score is going to use the same score with all stakeholders. That's one thing. The other thing is they will see the demand from the entire kingdom, all companies, and hopefully the whole region.
How about the other gentlemen you want to touch?
I think well done, and just simply those programs cannot work in separate. It's just only separate name. I like this new name. We'll take it, inshallah. But currently SABIC producing product, and SABIC and Aramco procuring product. And if anybody would like to localize anything in Saudi Arabia, he need input, and his output is the procurement. So the input is available mainly in SABIC and little bit with Sadara and Petrorabo. So he need the feed. So our feed is feeding Iktifa, and whatever we are producing from Nusanid is going to SABIC and it's going to Iktifa. And whatever Iktifa is procuring, a good portion of what they are procuring is also SABIC procurement, is Saudi Electricity's procurement. But what Abdullah said regarding the direction of the government to do this, I agree. We are sitting for the first time in the last year all together in one table. You cannot believe the 7 big companies, they are in the one table. They are discussing how can we unify our direction in order to make all our supplier coming to Saudi Arabia and produce in Saudi Arabia. So I think what Abdullah said is truly right, but you are bringing, for me, the first guy. You need to have a patent. If it will happen, that's mean you need to come. And he said, I am the one who, because I don't want to take it from you.
Okay. We have time for only one anymore. Mr. Majid Al-Afifi, CEO of STS Chain, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much. We are one of the companies here at KFUPM, and we are working on IT solutions. And so what we did, we tried to find the use case with Aramco. So the question is to Mr. Abdullah. We conducted a meeting with Aramco, one of the departments in Aramco, and we exchanged a lot of emails, and we finally got into a point where it is very difficult to register the company and get a vendor number. So what would be a solution, or is there any initiatives that you guys are working on in Activa program to solve this or to support us? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Without knowing what your company manufactures or provides, I welcome you to exchange contacts with me, and we'll take it from there. The registration team is with me, and so is the Activa team.
Thank
So
you
it's
so
under one umbrella.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I think we need to stop. We need to continue at the lunch break. I want to put a little summary for today's discussion. I was very happy to hear from all panelists about collaboration with each other, with other entities, with government entities, excellent programs, Nusaned, Iktifa, and not necessarily on a program level, but I know Mr. Ahmad is personally devoting time for Entrepreneurship Institute to come and mentor here. So this is really great. And on the challenge side, of course, the access to talent as could be guessed, to funding, regulation side as well. And finally, the big resource, untapped resource, is the women and their inclusion. So I was happy to hear this from the panelists. This is my short summary. Time is up. We have to close the session and continue the discussion over the lunch. Thank you so much for the panelists and for the audience.
Thank you very much for the great panel. نود الآن نتقدم بالشكر الجزيل للمتحدثين، ونود الآن أن نقدرهم ببعض الدروع التذكارية. سعادة المهندس فؤاد بن محمد موسى، نائب رئيس وحدة تطوير المحتوى المحلي والأعمال بشركة سابك. سعادة المهندس أحمد العبد ربو، رئيس مجلس إدارة يوكوغاوا. سعادة المهندس عبد الله الثعلي، رئيس وحدة التطوير الصناعي والإمدادات الاستراتيجية في اكتفاء بشركة أرامكو. شكرا لكم. الآن وأخيرا محاورنا الدكتور يني فيرتابويا. الآن نتوقف حتى الساعة 2 لأداء الصلاة، ثم الغداء الساعة 12:30. ونريد أن نذكر بطاولات النقاش. ستكون هناك 3 طاولات للنقاش. الطاولة الأولى وهي عن الجدوى الاقتصادية الصناعية، وستكون الطاولة هذه مع الأستاذ عبد الله الصانع من المجلس الصناعي في الغرفة التجارية. الطاولة الثانية وستكون الطاولة عن تقييم الأفكار الصناعية مع الأستاذ منصور الشطب من نساند. أما الطاولة الثالثة فستكون عن التمويل الصناعي مع الأستاذ ماجد الشامي من بنك التنمية الصناعي. فندعو الجميع إلى الاستفادة والنقاش من هذه الطاولات، والتي ستكون بالقرب من صالة الطعام. نراكم إن شاء الله الساعة 2 لبدء الجلسة الثانية. شكرا جزيلا للجميع.